contestants-to-be were in for quite the surprise at their gender reveal party when they opened the box to find they still had no idea whether it was a boy or a girl.
Hello everyone, Skippy here, and welcome to One Piece episode 993, directed by Masahiro Hosoda and supervised by Masayuki Takagi. While I've learned not to really expect much from his episodes due to the quality of them in Wano, I can't say that this most recent outing from Hosoda doesn't look fairly promising. Being chock full of nice lighting and harboring what looks like a pretty good quality storyboard that doesn't look too flat nor incredibly adventurous. Helping Masayuki Takagi's visceral corrections stand out even more, even if it's just by a little bit. Like last week, I'm definitely not expecting one of Wano's best, but maybe just like last week, I'll end up being surprised all the same by the final product. So will episode 993 be another typical outing from director Hosoda, or will it be more? Let's hear it out and find out. This episode covers the first 10 or so pages of chapter 985, and while that sounds pretty bad up front, they somehow make it work in spite of that. Placing a teensy bit of filler around the episode that helps it out a bit pacing-wise, like Yamato reminiscing about Ace towards the start of the episode that doesn't spoil much for upcoming chapters, the submarine game making it to the top and fighting before noticing Kanjuro and his lackeys, and Big Mom chasing after and eventually capturing Nami and Co, all the while they also change around some bits, like Neko revealing his gun arm to Inu before the battle instead of during Kanjuro's speech, as well as making everyone but Kiku and Kanjuro fight before they clash, which gives them time for even more added content, with a little added conversation between the aforementioned two that might go on for a bit too long, but gives us a bit of a tender and personal moment between them that was completely absent originally. All this helps the episode get by in the end, and while they still have to sometimes resort to brief flashbacks that are just that, brief, the longer amount of time spent on Kiku and Kanjuro is appreciated all in all, especially when next week is going to extend it well beyond what we saw past here. So while it may not be the most 100% solid pacing, it gets the job done in terms of strengthening the content and getting it to where it needs to be for next week for the upcoming staff to do their tricks. I may have some slight nitpicks with the weird selection of OST in places from Hosoda and the music picker, but this was all in all a commendable effort for what they were given. While a bit bare bones on the whole, especially when it comes to portraying scale, Hosoda's conservative board still ends up being well composed in the end and times the dialogue and comedy surprisingly pretty well, and harbors a few nice ideas that I do appreciate as small as they may be. Referring specifically to the painting-like cards as the two forces outside in the snow clash with one another, and the Kanjuro sequence of him beating on Momo in general that plays with lighting fairly well as the scene gets much darker upon Kanjuro looming over Momo and eventually wailing on him. Couple that with the photography team over at Asahi helping him out by continuing to take notes from 982 when it comes to lens flares and sheens on any and all blades, and 993's board isn't anything to particularly write home about, but I found myself enjoying bits of it nonetheless. And when coupled with solid on all ends art from Masayuki Takagi, that gets a bit softer when it needs to be and rams up the crazy limerick and expressions for the intense scenes and dialogue, 993 is probably Hosoda's best episode in a while. It's got its small issues, sure, but there's a few neat ideas that take up a large portion of the episode and board that make me enjoy it a lot more than I usually would in the face of the usual issues with Hosoda. And despite a few small nitpicks, I'd say that I had a pretty alright time with it. And when we're faced with next week's episode 994, it'll have to successfully fulfill the stuff that this episode spent its entire writing time setting up. With the combo of Yasunori Koyama and Masahiro Shimanuki again, it seems like it will be another amazingly directed episode that has a bit of wonky art due to the supervisor's corrections, but with the quality of their combo episodes in the past and how they've ended up being some of the best in this arc, I have absolutely no worries that it will be a great episode, especially in the face of some of the preview that definitely doesn't show the biggest moments of it, which should definitely make for some surprises at the end of it all. Anyways guys, that's it for now. I'm Skippy, and I'm feeling the Yamato brain rot, honestly.